Science is this amazing tool that we have. It's the most powerful tool that we have for tackling the big issues, the big problems facing us. There's no doubt about that. The 20th century showed us that. It is the most successful tool that we have to deal with things like how are we going to feed a population of 9 billion on the earth? How are we going to provide enough energy for all those people to live a decent quality of life? How can we make sure that the extension of life expectancy that we've enjoyed in developed countries can be spread out to become a global phenomenon? How can we make sure that we can improve not only the length of life but the quality of life? And it is, the only answer to that question is going to be, all those questions is going to be found through science. And I think as a society we just need to take that on board. One of the most important issues that we have to tackle is the fact that still a lot of science is published in journals which are not openly accessible to the general public, which is a real difficulty. It means that people will only find out about that science and be able to contribute to it if they find some kind of conduit through which they can actually access it. Sometimes that's journalists who are able to access the original articles. Sometimes it's scientists who are working in that area. But wouldn't it be better if all of that information was actually out there and easily accessible? So we're seeing a rise in open access journals at the moment, which is fantastic. It's a real crunch point in publishing. And as a newspaper, you'll know this, that it's a very difficult thing to do. We want to produce high quality publications that we need to finance in some way, but at the same time we want that to be really accessible to everybody. When we're thinking about communicating science to a wider public, we have to be quite careful about obviously the way that we're going to frame that science, the words that we're going to use to describe it. But I don't think in order to get across these ideas that you have to dumb down. I hate the term dumbing down. You have to simplify things, but I think that scientists do that all the time anyway, that they're always simplifying things in their own minds to try and get to the root of something. I mean, that's how science works. You're kind of reducing things to components that you can then understand, even if you then put it back together into something incredibly complex. And for those of us that are teaching, you have to do that. When your undergraduates come in the first year, you have to be able to explain things that you're doing at a postgraduate level, at a postdoctoral level, to these new undergraduates who might come in with a bit of science from school, but they don't have the jargon that you're familiar with. So one of the things you have to learn as a teacher is to strip that out. And I don't think it's any different from talking to the general public. I think the establishment of roles within universities, such as my appointment as Professor of Public Engagement in Science at the University of Birmingham, I think one of the things about those roles that's wonderful is that it's showing that universities are committed to public engagement. There might be a danger that they think they've done it just by creating a single role. I think we need to be looking at a much deeper, wider culture change within universities. And it's fine that I'm there at Birmingham, but actually what I really hope is that I can be part of a cultural shift in that university and others, which is about making sure that public engagement is something that all academics are supported to do. Because when you talk to academics, there was a big study done a couple of years ago, they're generally excited and enthused by the idea of doing this, of having a dialogue with the public, of doing much more public engagement, but they're also worried that it's going to be detrimental to their careers. So we need to tackle that, and it's about making sure that there's space within an academic career to do this. I mean, God, if there's space for all the form filling and the admin that we have to do, we should be able to make sure that there's space for public engagement as well. But it's also about making sure that people are going to be rewarded for that, because it's no good saying to a researcher, well, I'd like you to do some public engagement, but at the end it is going to be detrimental to your career because you're not going to be publishing so many papers. We need to tackle that. We need to make sure that public engagement is part of academic life, just as teaching is, just as research is.